You know, I'm finding it almost comical how this Hunter, Joe, and the rest of the Biden family mass money transfer has transpired this far. Remember this? First it was,
I did not know he was on the board of that company. I've never discussed my business or their business, my sons or daughters. I did my job. I never discussed a single thing with my son about anything having to do with Ukraine. No one has indicated I have. We've always kept everything separate. I have never discussed with my son or my brother or anyone else anything having to do with their businesses, period.
but then once it became very apparent that that wasn't true, it became this.
Curious if the White House and the president still stand behind his comment that he's never been involved and has never even spoken to his son about his business.
So I've been asked this question a million times. The answer is not going to change. The answer remains the same. The president was never in business with his son. I just don't have anything else to add.
Well, now it's in business, but then it was this.
Congresswoman Nancy Mace says there's damning evidence in the FBI file that you sold out the country. Do you have a response to the congressional Republicans?
Where's the money?
They keep moving the goalposts, folks, every time new information comes out. And now they found the money. And the White House, the DOJ, or whatever other entity is defending him, has moved in to try to break each individual thing up into a separate issue to lessen the impact. Oh, it was only $4,000, as you can see right there with the voided check, for car payments for Hunter's vehicle that he trashed, by the way. Then it was, oh, it was only one $40,000 loan repayment check. Don't worry about that. But then it was, oh, it was just a sibling paying him back $200,000. None of these things are related to Hunter's business dealings. Of course not. But then why did some of these payments take place on sometimes the same day that other family members got the exact same amount of money from a Hunter-affiliated business? I just want to keep pointing out also that in case there's any honest IRS agents watching right now, all the payments are labeled loan repayment. It's like a deliberate tax evasion. But I mean, if it's not, and if maybe I could be totally off here, I don't think I am, but it's really easy to prove or disprove. You would think Joe Biden would want to clear his name. Show us the transactions in which you loaned Sarah and James Biden $240,000. Because that $240K also is only what we know about. Forget all the other stuff that might seem to be above board. And this is what Republicans need to keep in the front sight right now, folks. It's not how much Joe Biden got paid. It's that Joe Biden got paid when he said he didn't. He would have only lied about this if there was something dubious afoot. Look, this defense is a carefully scripted PR campaign. Granted, they have to keep changing their story, but they don't mind lying. They're Democrats. It's basically their party platform. But could you imagine being on this PR team? Okay, Joe, what is out there that could potentially come back to haunt you in this investigation? Look, Jack, and these trails all. I mean, like, I almost feel bad for these people. Almost. But this is a super easy thing to dissect, though. Joe Biden has always claimed that he's one of the poorest guys in Congress. You know, hometown Jack, you know, lunchbox Joe. And this might actually be the only true thing he's ever actually said. But here, his net worth throughout the course of his career, it was basically flat. And then you see the second he leaves office, he makes $16 million in 2 years. Now, to be fair, okay, most high-ranking politicians, they go sit on a board, they teach some worthless yet symbolic class at a university that wants them to fill a room at their next endowment meeting or whatever. And sure, they go on to make a bunch of money after office, but this seems a little crazy. All kind of going to the point I was making earlier, $16 million in 2 years? For what? Keep in mind, that's just what they know about. That's just what he disclosed voluntarily. That $240K, by the way, in loan repayments, they're not even accounted for in that number. I mean, what is this money from? I mean, if you add up all these assets, I struggle to get to $16 million. $190K for a speech at Drew University. I bet that was a real page turner. So much so that when he gave another speech in Ann Arbor, they only paid him $8,000. I make more than that off a speech, and I'm a nobody. But even with all their reported income, I am still struggling to see what got him to $16 million. Like, where did this money come from? I know he got like 60 grand a year in rental income from the Secret Service for a cottage on his property. That was fine for him. But when the Secret Service did the same thing and rented something from Trump, God forbid, it was the end of the world. Joe Biden got another $400K a year for less than a dozen appearances at UPenn. Oddly enough, around the same time that China donated 50 million bones to the university. Think about that. What was that for? Also, this is where they found a ton of classified documents. Not sure what those were doing there. I don't know why Comer's not digging deeper into that one, too. Here, sprinkle a few $100,000 in for other speeches, maybe a book deal, and that was probably made mandatory reading at UPenn because no one else would buy it. I'm actually struggling to see why Joe Biden was able to accrue this much money in reported income. Again, not what he's not reporting, like the other $240K. But what I do know, there has to be some cattywampus afoot. Otherwise, they wouldn't have lied about all this stuff. Hunter Biden doesn't exactly fit the mold of a corporate success story. Yet every endeavor he's ever embarked on, he's gotten paid big money for zero return. There's not a single tangible thing he has produced in exchange for his millions in salaries and payments and bonuses and whatever else he's earned money for. Whether it be claiming to be next to his father to extort a Chinese businessman, making $1 million a year off a Ukrainian natural gas company, billions in Chinese investments for a private equity fund, there is not one person in the world with less qualifications and more success than this crackhead with the last name Biden. The only actual tangible asset he has exchanged were his paintings, one buyer of which had a family member become the first American released hostage in this whole Hamas ordeal. Weird, right? And the IRS seemingly wants to know if you and I or Venmo somebody over $600. Come, James Comer, how much more do you need?